Good morning, Revolution, everybody, and welcome to our show this morning. First thing, Happy New Year to everyone, Rosanna, Scott,
Happy New Year.
Anita, and to all of our comrades and friends and fellow travelers, and for everybody who has a democratic and progressive mindset. We want to wish you a happy and productive and healthy New Year. We hear that COVID variant is spreading, so please stay safe. There's some important news this morning in the fight for reproductive rights. Scott, you want to give us an update on what happened?
Sure. The FDA rules surrounding a drug called mifepristone have changed. Mifepristone is a drug that can be used to provoke miscarriages and terminate pregnancies early. So it's used for medical abortion. And formerly, the drug had to be dispensed in person by a physician. So your doctor had to have it there and hand it to you, which meant that practically a lot of people couldn't access it because a lot of hospitals, healthcare systems didn't have it on the formulary, so doctors weren't allowed to, have it there in their offices. The rules have changed. Mifepristone can now be stocked by pharmacies and dispensed by pharmacies with the doctor's prescription, which means that early termination of pregnancy will be accessible to a lot more people. The fight now is just going to be to make sure that pharmacies carry it, because obviously, there's going to be pressure against pharmacies from the right to keep them from stocking this drug. But it's an important step forward. And there was another step forward as well. There's another step forward for reproductive freedom in South Carolina, where the state Supreme Court decided yesterday that the state constitution's privacy protections include the right to abortion. So abortion rights are constitutionally protected in South Carolina, which is good, and hopefully more state Supreme Courts will move in that direction.
Very important development, and congratulations to those who pushed for it. I understand the administration had taken some steps with regard to the dispensing of that drug. Good for them. And remember that NARAL and other organizations are going to be focusing on state ballot initiatives this year. And so wherever possible, we should join with them. Next, today is an important anniversary. January the 6th, 2 years ago, the Republican far right and the fascist element, at the behest of Trump and certain sections of corporate America, tried to overthrow the government. And they haven't given up, They have been set back, Rosanna, but their eyes are still set on the door of the White House. Make no mistake about that. And so we still have a lot of work to do, don't you think?
Definitely, you can see evidence of it with this McCarthy, showdown that's going on in Congress. It's a big, it's an indication. There's 20 members of Congress holding everything up. The entire country, they're holding it up, and nobody can get sworn in. Nothing can be introduced. And we're going, I think, on day 4 of this fiasco. But it is kind of a concerning factor that 20 people can hold up everything.
Yeah, it's a crisis in the not so deep state, Anita. They're always talking about the deep state.
This is the shallow state.
What's the goal, Anita? I mean, why are they doing this? You think?
It's really, at first it was kind of amusing, and people were laughing about Kevin McCarthy being humiliated and making jokes about no more McCarthy era, once was enough. But I really think this could turn into a real constitutional crisis, because there is no House of Representatives right now, and that House is necessary for spending bills and for funding the government. So, I mean, even when or if anybody is elected speaker, that person is going to be, beholden to the far right of the party for every step of the way for the next 2 years. It looks like it's just going to be one crisis after another coming out of that body over the next 2 years. It's really alarming, actually. And this, it's almost, it's not surprising. It's kind of like a January 6th redo on a different level and a different, aspect of legality. So it's really a dangerous situation, I think, right now.
And this is a typical Republican plan. Oh, sorry, Anita, I cut you off.
No, go ahead. You're right. It's the playbook. Yep.
Playbook to do what?
Oh, sorry.
A plan to do what?
So to interfere with the functioning of public institutions, and then when they have been disrupted, when either they've been disrupted or defunded, or when they can't work as planned, to then point the finger and try to eliminate them. So this will be used in right-wing propaganda about, government can't do anything, the House of Representatives can't even operate. It's a goal to discredit every public democratic institution. It's a trick they've been using for a long time with public schools, with every with the post office, with every kind of public entity.
Yes, you're right. That's part of it. But I also think that isn't part of it an attempt by a section, the MAGA, super ultra MAGA section of the GOP, who, what's his name? Gates, whatever, that dude from Florida.
Yeah.
He said, we want to put McCarthy in a straitjacket. In other words, they want to determine how the GOP governs. You see, they want to determine what happens and what doesn't happen, and so they're exercising their veto to put in place changes in the rules so that they can get away and with anything that they want and determine what happened. And if they don't like it, they just shut the boy being McCarthy down. This is part of the growing, the party program says that this is not an ordinary competition between different parties, but the attempt of one section of the capitalist class to dominate all other sections, including the whole of society. And so you could interpret this as an attempt by one group within the GOP representing a section of capital to do the same. And they're preparing for 2024, y'all. They're preparing for 2024. Anita, there are 40 members of the Freedom Caucus. These people represent 20. And then there's this Republican study group with, I don't know how many, but there were like 130 or 140 of them that voted to deny that Mr. Biden won the presidency. I mean, all of them are maggot. How you say that? I want to
maggots.
Maggots.
MAGA. Anyway, we'll work on that. I mean, it's hard for me to get a sense of who's more fascist. Those 20 or the Republican study group, and then they're talking about the moderates and the traditional. Who are they?
It's really hard to parse, and I think it's it's because the ruling class in the United States doesn't coincide exactly with the Republican Party or with any political party. So it's hard to tell whether how these people these are, as Scott said, these are the disruptors, the people who just want to make it so that government can't do anything at all. And I think there are a group in the Republican Party and the ruling class of this country that just want business as usual. They want the spending bills to get passed so that they can reap the profits from those spending bills in some cases. So it's really hard to tell where we're going with this. But it's true that this far right wing really has has a grip on the situation right now, that's really frightening. Even if McCarthy steps down and another person steps in, Steve Scalise say they're going to make the same concessions or squeeze the same concessions out of the next candidate for speaker. So I don't see where it ends at this point. It's really frightening.
Listen, I think they're going to regroup, because big capital is going to make them regroup. And they're going to get their act together. And though they only have a 3-person majority, they're going to act like they got the biggest mandate in the world. You watch. And we got a big fight in front of us, Rosanna, and it can't be politics as usual. That's one of the points we're going to make at the National Committee meeting, which is taking place a week from tomorrow, that politics as usual is not going to get it. Do you know that Trump and them have held 40 rallies since January the 6th, in which tens of thousands of people participated in each? Well, I don't know if tens of thousands in each, but they involved several thousand people, at a time. They're organizing big time. And it seems to me that if you got to fight fire with fire. They're building a mass movement, and you need a counter mass movement in order to do that. And I just don't think that Mr. Biden or who's the head of the Democratic caucus in the House, Mr. Jeffries or Mr. Schumer are capable of organizing such a movement. Am I wrong?
I don't think so. I think it's it's all of us that have to really commit to organizing. We have the majority. It's just organizing it all together so that we can really fight this. And which includes voting, includes being on the streets, includes holding all of the members of Congress and the Senate to the fire to make sure that they do not give up concessions that benefit working people. My question though is, the Congress can't pass anything without the Senate. So I don't know how they're maneuvering this, or they're thinking that they are going to do anything. Or I could be wrong, but it seems to be kind of a stalemate. But in the meantime, I think as working people, we've got to find ways to step it up and organize ourselves to for that fight back that's coming. We see it already coming, and it's time to really band together, unifying. Forget whatever differences we have, but unify on the things that we do have in common, and that which is the interest of the working class and the interest of working people's needs. So
You're right. The Senate's going to be a roadblock to the Republican House, and it's going to be a stalemate. But the Republicans are going to use it as a platform. I mean, it's going to be a big show,
mm,
It's going to be a big, comedy hour, except it ain't going to be all that funny. And they're going to use it to make their talking points, to hold investigations. They're going to look into Biden. They're going to look into what's hiding under Nancy Pelosi's bed. They're going to be looking into Mr. Schumer's closet. They're going to be going after Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and AOC and so on. They're going to try to find spy satellites from Italy that are changing votes and all of that kind of thing. And all the while, they're going to be promoting Mr. Trump, so or Mr. DeSantis or whoever ends up. I know Anita thinks Trump is through. I'm not so convinced, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of elections, Mr. Lula from the Workers' Party of Brazil got inaugurated last Sunday. That's a big deal, Scott.
That
Congratulations,
is.
the
That is.
people, peasants and workers and doctors and lawyers and the indigenous, everybody. Big,
Yeah.
big, big development.
To have teetered, as Brazil was on the brink of fascism with a leader like Bolsonaro, and then to with this immense work of organization and mobilization to have won this huge people's victory is a tremendous thing, and it should give us hope, and it should remind us that you know the fascist threat can be beaten back, but only by a huge mass movement infused with working class and people's interests. That's the key, like Rosanna and Joe have both said.
Anita,
I think,
were you going to say something,
yeah, I
Rosanna?
think I wanted to kind of, I think this is very, we can use this example, not just about the People's Fight Back, but how the right wing has operated in terms of, like you were saying, Joe, that it will do all kinds of propaganda, it'll accuse all kinds of people, making them look like they're corrupt, just exactly what they did with Lula. So I think it's an important lesson for us to keep in mind as we go forward, is not to fall for some of these lies and rumors, and to look deeper into things without, right away jumping on the bandwagon against somebody that they are promoting as corrupt or promoting as they did this or they did that kind of thing. I saw on the Senate, on the Congress floor, I don't know what the dialogue was, but they were attacking Waters, Maxine Waters. At some point, there was kind of a shouting match. I couldn't hear what it was about, but um, I think that you're right. They're going to go after people just like they've done in Bolivia, just like they've done in Brazil, just like they've done in other countries, to try to discredit the new leadership and the new government.
It's a very important point. These forces, they ain't going to give up, and we can't either. And we have to be vigilant and not give in to provocations. And we got to keep our eyes on the prize. That's really, really important. Anita, they built a broad coalition and to win that election. And I understand we had a visitor here from the workers from the Communist Party of Brazil back in the fall, young woman. And she made the point that the vice president is from a centrist party that ran for the election uh, against the Workers' Party before. Uh, but this time they reached out and they were able to form a coalition that won the victory against Bolsonaro.
Wow.
By the way, was
Mhm.
you guys in Florida the other day. I understand. They say he was someplace eating fried chicken. Hope he chokes on it.
KFC.
I don't want anybody to get sick.
No, he can
Anyway,
stay long enough. That's fine.
let,
Yeah, I think you're right. He did bring in a lot of a large coalition, and if you just look at the cabinet choices that he's made, he's appointed, I think, 11 women to his cabinet, which is many more than usual. A person who's going to be the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, who is a person of Indigenous origins, and also the sister of a journalist, I believe, or an activist who was executed, who was assassinated under the Bolsonaro regime. Her sister has been appointed to a cabinet position. And just the number of foreign delegations that were there, it's I think the whole world breathed a sigh of relief when Lula won that election, and now that he's been inaugurated without incident, it's a big relief. It's a gift to the entire world. It's a gift to the climate, because they're going to roll back deforestation of the Amazon. So it's just all around good news coming out of Brazil. I'm so really excited about it.
The big issue though will be to the degree to which that coalition is going to be able to maintain unity in order to implement the program that they ran under. And that's where the influence of the center forces in that coalition and that new vice president, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Our comrade from the Communist Party pointed that out in our conversation. Unity is indispensable, no question about that, but maintaining it is going to be a exercise in political will and tactics going forward. That's always part of the problem that we're confronted with. And congratulations to the Communist Party of Brazil, because they played a big role in making that election happen. Solidarity forever. Big tech coming back to the United States. Do you know that there was a big movement to break up Apple, Alphabet, they call it now, Google, Facebook, and that these big tech corporations, and it was led by Amy Klobuchar, the senator from Minnesota, and another senator, I forget, New Hampshire, I think.
Chuck
And
Grassley.
was it Grassley?
I
And
think so.
and they made a lot of progress, and then the Silicon Valley folks and the folks from the Northern Pacific, Washington State. I don't know if Microsoft was part of that. Maybe they weren't. Anyway, the big tech corporations came together and blew it apart, Scott.
Yeah.
And there were a number of smaller tech corporations and civil society, community groups, civil society, led by DuckDuckGo and some others. And they strategized and everything, but they weren't able to overcome and they spent like hundreds of millions of dollars in this lobbying effort. And they were clever. They approached the Democrats and they said, this is, oh, it just makes me angry when I think about how they play on what they love to call identity politics. They told the Democrat, this is going to hurt minority business. And then they went to the Republicans and said, this is going to hurt a free enterprise and freedom of speech. And they focused on 3 or 4 races for the Senate that were close. And they said, if you support this, you're going to lose your race. And as a result, Schumer dropped the ball and decided not to bring the legislation before the Senate. How you like them apples? Pardon the pun. You get an apple.
I mean, it really is, that's business as usual in the capitalist state. Like that's, it's a classic example of how even, under the most standard operation of capitalist democracy, there's this kind of endemic corruption where the surplus value extracted from the labor of the working class is poured back into buying control of the political system and manipulating the democratic institutions that do exist to further the interest of, of big corporations. So, you know, we talk about the fight against fascism and the need to win that, but that is just part of the bigger fight to replace this limited, dysfunctional capitalist democracy tipped in favor of billionaires and big corporations with real democracy under socialism.
Rosanna, back in Youngstown, we say, money talks, bullshit walks. And money, pardon my, that's what we say. Money talks, bullshit walks. And obviously money was talking in this case, but that campaign on the part of the opponents was under the radar. I mean, you know, you had this big anti-monopoly, and we say we're for anti-monopoly coalition. We have an anti-monopoly strategy. We want to break up the. Did you hear about it?
I had not heard about it. No, I had not heard about it, so I'm not that familiar with it too much.
Anita, that's something we got to pay attention to in the future because they haven't given up, you know. And this is a campaign that the left and the working class, the trade unions, everybody to join in and support. You know,
Mhm.
it's a big issue.
And Amy Klobuchar has and seems to have done a lot of work on this, and was getting blamed for it failing by some in some quarters. I noticed too. They blamed Amy Klobuchar for being too rigid about it, but it was just that they were looking for excuses to go along with the lobbyists who had spent millions of dollars on lobbying, as well as campaign contributions and dark money. I mean, they really threw everything they had at it, and they won. There were some things in that bill that made it easier to enforce certain antitrust legislation that was already there, but and that's a small victory. But the big chance to really get a grip on this was lost, sadly.
I wasn't trying to say that the anti-monopoly efforts was BS and that those forces were walking. By the way, I just wanted to quote one of the things that we say back home. Anyway, and in many other working class communities around the country, I dare say. Let's deal with the mailbag question. We got two, and we're going to take two answers. One from one of our panelists. So, think, ready, set, go. Who wants to answer this? It got to be a quick answer because we only got a couple of minutes left. I'm a social democrat. No, I'm not a Joe Sams. I'm a big C. No, the Democrat, big C communist. I'm a social democrat. I know some of y'all don't like me saying that, but it's true. I'm going to keep on saying it. I'm a social democrat who comes from a wealthy family. If the Communist Party comes to power, will it confiscate my family's wealth like the Soviets did? Who wants to answer that question? 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, we'll take it away. No, why should some people live large while other people are starving or foregoing medical care that they need? I mean, we need to lift all people to a certain level before we can think about anybody having excess. Where did that wealth come from? It was stolen from the working class over many years. So, I don't think we're out to impoverish people, but definitely a communist society would be a society where there's more equality among people in their opportunities.
First, I would first make sure that they pay their fair share of taxes to begin with. That would be the first step, making sure that they really are paying the right amount of taxes that are without any loopholes or any kind of tax write-offs or anything like that. Because it's true. Where did that wealth come from?
And any wealth that's that's in the form of capital, that is wealth that's used to extract surplus value from the labor of the working class. So stock ownership, things like that. Yes, that wealth is no longer going to function as wealth. That doesn't mean, we're going to come and take away your second car and your toothbrush and your underwear. Like people sometimes think about, this popular image of communism as like everybody gets one pair of underwear issued by the state and the rest gets taken away with. No, that's not it. But we are going to take measures, or the socialist revolution will take measures to make sure that wealth is not hoarded in the hands of the few and used to oppress and exploit the many. Absolutely.
I would urge the Social Democrats, as our producer said, to take a action before all of this happens and donate your money to the Communist Party. It'd be a big tax write-off. We
Except
have
that
some
it's not. But
501c3 funds. We got the Fund for Progress. We got the Fund for Socialism. Good time to make do the right thing and make a donation. Next question. How do we know if the Communist Party comes to power? It won't. We've got this question before. But y'all, we're not going to install a dictatorship, an oppressive. That's kind of a oxy. What
That's
saying the same thing twice?
it's
Oppressive
that's
dictatorship.
propaganda. It's propaganda that we do stuff like that. It's just straight out propaganda.
I agree. Because the party is going to come to power. It's going to take a coalition. It's going to take a working class led coalition to defeat this monster that capitalism has created. The most dangerous ruling class in history. It's true.
but I'm I'm,
The-
I'm gonna
Go
jump
ahead,
in here and
Scott.
say that um, you know there's plenty. Well, there's a small handful of people at institutions for which a socialist democracy will appear extremely oppressive. So if you are a billionaire, if you are a fascist, if you are somebody who is used to using your property to impose your will on other people, then yeah, equality is going to feel real oppressive. But for the vast majority of people, a socialist revolution will bring open new democratic horizons for popular participation and programs that truly benefit people.
Well, working class power will be a liberatory event. It will liberate people from poverty. It'll liberate people from sexist oppression, at least the beginning of it. It'll take the first steps. It'll liberate us from racial oppression. At least it will take the first steps. Liberate LGBTQ people from homophobic oppression. At least it will take the first steps. And it will disempower the oppressors, So the thing to do is to get on the right side of history, join the movement for a new society, and become part of those liberatory forces. That does it. We want to wish everybody a great week going forward. There's a comet coming. First time since Neanderthal that a comet passes by so that we can see it. And so get out your binoculars and your telescopes. Maybe on a clear night, far out in the country, you'll be able to see it passing by. Take a
The
picture,
harbinger of revolution.
send it in to CPUSA at CPUSA.org. And I'm going to take a ride on that comet, you know. And But I'll be back, and we'll be back next week, same time, same station, Till then, stay strong, stay safe, stay in the fight. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Later, comrades.
Bye.